I think, can sense it right now.
To go, inbound to Weatherspoon with one. Weatherspoon puts up the three. It's no good!
The Liberty Flames are still dancing.
And the Flames to the biggest victory in school history.
Georgia to inbound, gets to the AC. Deep three, pull up. He baked it in! He baked it in!
Shot at the buzzer. Good! It's good! It's good! It's Woodward!
Larry Blair, reverse layup, up and in, and he's fouled. Man, you talk about degree of difficulty.
With two, Georgie at the buzzer. Got it! He got it!
Darius McGee, a game for the ages.
And Liberty wins 4 games in the Big South Tournament to take home the 2013 crown. Look at Bio Baxter Bell.
25 for Colin Porter.
Holmesley, splash.
Shiloh Robinson with an effort play.
And Liberty keeps on coming.
A huge basket by Kyle Rowe.
Got it! Pacheco with the 3.
Liberty, put your dancing shoes on.
Well, hey, what's going on? Welcome back to the A Sea of Red live basketball show. Good to be back after the holidays. Hope you had a wonderful Christmas, Happy New Year, all that kind of fun stuff. I'm joined by my guy, the Reverend, the Dr. Will Matthews. Will, did you have a good holiday season?
Yeah, man, it's been lots of ups and downs for Liberty Flames fans of all sports here in the last week or so. But I think going into conference play with basketball, just jump right into it. I think the roller coaster is getting ready to come back up. I think we're about to see some fun basketball.
Yeah, and I'm sure there's a lot of folks out there that may not have been able to be as invested in basketball with everything else going on. Fortunately for you, you got a nerd that is very invested. So I'll try to pass along every piece of information you got. And we got a huge show tonight. We have got Coach McKay. We've got Gabriel McKay. I think we might be able to bring them on a little bit back to back, maybe have them on for a second together. We'll see. We'll see what happens tonight. And then our guy Tim Scarborough to wrap it up to preview CUSA. Conference USA season starts on Saturday. Really excited about that. Will, since we've got so much going on, what do you think we need to get through tonight?
Well, for me tonight, it's a Bojangles kind of night. It's bow time. But I will tell you, Bojangles has the worst coffee I think I've ever tasted in my life. They do chicken and fries and everything else really well, but the coffee's not good. So if I had coffee tonight, it probably would be Ironclad because it is one of the best. Yeah,
no question about it. Shout out to Ironclad Coffee, proud sponsor of the Sea Red podcast, and then also Liberty Athletics. Give those guys a view on their website, ironcladcoffee.com. You can order stuff online like our esteemed colleague Will Matthews has. Support those guys. Really appreciate them. Thanks to Ironclad Coffee. All right, well, let's run through the 3 games that we missed since we've podcasted last. We'll just run through these real quick, and then we're going to bring on Coach McKay here in a minute. The first one went really well, Will. Utah Valley on the road. Liberty 79-63 winners in that game. Was really a dominant offensive performance in that first half. 46 points, 1.44 points per possession. Zach Cleveland was insane in this game. 19 points, 8 assists, 7 rebounds, 3 block, 9 of 12 shooting. He was just all over the floor in this game. This was a really, I think, sneaky good win. I don't think a lot of people know how difficult it was to go on the road in the high altitude and get a win against a team that was I think a Final Four or an Elite Eight NIT team last year.
Mm-hmm. Good win. I think it's a solid win. I think Utah Valley probably under the radar as far as, mid-major basketball, but I think pretty comparable to the type of talent we might be seeing here in conference play.
Yeah. So this was a really good win. It was kind of close the first few minutes of the game, and then Liberty just completely took control and dominated. This was just a absolutely great performance. Zach Cleveland really shows a lot of his upside, and I think definitely a question I want to ask Coach McKay is, is Zach Cleveland maybe the key to success for how far this team can go this year? Because that's kind of what I'm maybe thinking at this point. The next one, it was a tough one.
Good.
101-56 loss to Alabama. I never want to see the Crimson Tide on the schedule again. I don't know why we did this for Steven Gonzalez. Just don't schedule this game anymore. This was look, the thing that's hard about a lot of these games, Will, and maybe I'm a little too much Kool-Aid here. I really don't feel like there's much of a difference if you lose a game by like 20 or 50. Like, you got beat bad, but when you get beat this bad, it just absolutely kills your metrics, which is, of course, the brutal part for me. I don't know. Any takeaways in this game?
I mean, I don't want to say that they didn't look prepared, because I think Coach McKay and the coaching staff is always going to have his team prepared. It just looked different to me. Like, I don't know. They didn't look as crisp or something like that. I felt like they had some good opportunities. Like, I felt like they had some good shots and some good shot selections, but you play a team like Alabama, and I don't know, whether you're playing Alabama or Boise, you're looking for good shots, right?
Mm-hmm.
But when we play Alabama, we can't hit anything. When we play Boise, we hit everything. And I don't know that, it's complete correlation to the athleticism, but because an open shot is an open shot. But for some reason, we play a team like Alabama or Grand Canyon, and we just can't hit the three ball.
Yeah, I feel like this loss right here, if you win that game against Grand Canyon, I feel like whatever, right? I feel like that's the one that I think kind of stings. But whatever, we have to move past that at this point. I mean, Alabama, they're the number one offensive team in the country, and they definitely showed why in this game. You're also playing an Alabama team that's just crazy motivated because they had all these tough losses against really, really good competition. They also blew out EKU as well. So, I don't know. I just don't want to see these guys ever on the schedule again. Please and thank you. That's pretty much all I got. All right. And then last, our 11 a.m. New Year's Day special. Liberty wins 88-46 over Boise. I tell you what, Will, when Brody Peebles sees one of these non-D1 teams, I just think he's salivating at the mouth. He has 68 points and 14 three-pointers against non-D1 teams this year. He has just been absolutely dominant. Gabriel McKay had 7 points in this game. We'll talk to him in a minute. Ben Sutherland didn't score a lot, but I feel like he's starting to kind of give a few nice minutes. That's maybe my kind of takeaway from this game as I was watching. Like, hey, Sutherland looks like he belongs. Look, he kind of gives some depth. That was what I saw from this game.
Yeah, he looked like he belonged out there against Boise. Well, let's see if he cracks the rotation going forward in conference play against maybe some top tier or better athletes anyway. But he's a guy that gives you size, right? I feel like that's one of the knocks against this team is when we go play some of these teams, we are just smaller. And so Sutherland is a guy that gives you some size.
Yeah. All right. Well, conference play starts on Saturday. We'll break that all down here a little bit, starting with Western Kentucky. But we're going to have a quick word from one of our sponsors, Experience Leesburg, and then we'll be right back with Coach McKay.
It's real Florida. It's old Florida, and it's close to all of the Central Florida attractions. Crystal clear natural springs in one of the largest chain of lakes. The beautiful lakefront city of Leesburg offers the best in outdoor adventures, fishing, and quaint shops and restaurants on historic downtown Main Street. Come visit and see how welcoming a hometown city feels. Experience Leesburg, the way Florida is meant to be.
All right. Joined now by our guy, Coach McKay. Coach, how we doing?
Well, Nick, how are you guys?
Doing
Great.
well. You have a good Christmas, good New Year?
We did. Got a chance to be with the fam. Our daughter came home from Nashville, so that was great. And everything was going tremendously well until we tipped it up in Birmingham. And not so much.
Never again Alabama on the schedule. As Nate Oates just got. Did you block his number?
Yeah, what's funny about that, and I heard you guys talking about it, and man, you didn't blast us, and you really could have, because we did not play well. Alabama had a lot to do with it, but there's sometimes when we just overrate the significance or the result of one game. And some nights, really good shooters don't shoot it great. Alabama was 8 for 40 against Arizona. They were 4 for 22 against Clemson, and they didn't win those games. Now, the difference is they've got so much length, so much athleticism that they didn't get beat 45 points. But you guys, it was a tough game. Our guys are way better than that. We've been competitive with all but 3 games, I think, in our last however many 6 seasons. Indiana and Alabama twice. So I don't want to overreact to one loss. It's not a good matchup for us, and the sky isn't falling because we lost to a really good Alabama team who, Nick, as you mentioned, was number 1 in the country going in, and still are. So don't think we'll play them again unless it's in the NCAA tournament, and we'll try and figure out some other way to compensate for those deficits we've experienced the last 2 years.
All right, I'm going to ask you one more question on Alabama, and then we'll move past that, because there was a lot of really good things that happened. I think overall it was a really good non-conference, which I want to get to. One kind of maybe concern that I see, I like a lot of other people see, it feels like your team is able to really lock in and defend against almost every team when they're really locked in. But it seems like maybe there's some troubles against the elite offensive teams. Is there like anything that you can do to get better at that? Do you have any take on that, or how do you move past that against, hopefully next time we see a team that's that elite offensively is in the NCAA tournament?
Yeah, I think, Nick, it's a fair question. Like, let's look at football. Like, we were great. We were 13-0. Jamie Chadwell, his staff, phenomenal year. And Oregon's got elite speed, elite athleticism. It's a hard matchup. It's a hard game. So sometimes we get so trapped by the numbers or the outcomes. Like, you just never know the variables that take place in a game. Joseph Van Sant had 2 fouls early, and I rarely play guys with 2 fouls. And as soon as he went out, we started to fall behind. I put him back in. We stemmed the tide for a little bit, and I was trying to save him for the second half with 2 fouls and protect him. And before I could get him back down or in, we're down 20. So if he stays in the game, maybe it's different. And the teams that we're playing against, some of the teams we've lost to, they have elite athleticism. They've got really good size players, length, and all that, and they've paid big salaries to get them. Not making an excuse like that, but I just think we are who we are. And man, I love our team. I love the way they represent us. And these dudes, man, they battle. You guys, they battle their hearts out. Like they really are giving their best. And not every night will it show up on the scoreboard. But I'm like you. I want the Grand Canyon game back. But you know what? We're not afforded that opportunity. The thing that we can do best is to learn from it, grow from it, and see if we can't practice a better response when the game gets like it was going.
Talk about the non-conference overall, because first off, this was by far your most challenging non-conference, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah. The numbers would dictate that, and having as many games away from home, all of that. And again, it was intentional to play a competitive schedule. You just never know from year to year how good a team will be. I thought Alabama would be good. Did I think they'd have the number 1 offense in the country? No. I knew the Charleston FAU series would be a great series, especially for our fans, to get those 2 teams at home in year 3. But man, is it really hard to play an FAU team who at the time, I think we were 6-0, and they had just lost 1 game, and it was a packed house, tough environment. We lose and then turn around and have to play a Charleston team who was waiting on us and had 5 days to prep for us. So that was a tough one. And then the Grand Canyon, when we lost to 16 or 15-point lead and had another double-digit lead in the second half. And you guys have seen us enough. We don't usually give up those. So, but I do think there's some really good wins in there that, I think will have really prepared us for what's going to be a very competitive Conference USA season.
Yeah, I mean, Furman, Wichita State, Vermont,
Yeah.
Utah Valley. We talked about that. I thought that was a really impressive win on the road. And then I think that the most underrated win in my nerd brain is Tennessee State by 22 points, because I think that's a pretty quality team that you guys really handled in that game and, helped out a little bit later on. All right, Will, take it over.
Even as far as like the non-D1 games, I thought Boyce was pretty good. I mean, I thought they looked pretty decent. Coach, I heard you say somewhere, I don't know if it was like radio or press conference or halftime or something like that, the game honors your investment. Do you see that happening with anyone in particular on the team right now? Where do you see that at?
Yeah, good question. Well, I think of it more holistically. I think our guys' investment in the process into a right-placed identity. I think so often, and we're in the entertainment business, if you will, but so often you get your identity attached to your performance, especially this demographic. I mean, even us as well, I'm well older, but even you guys who are older than our guys, well, you still look like you got some eligibility left. But I think sometimes we can think that what we do or how we do it becomes who we are, and that's not the case. So just like I think it's true in our own whole person development. Like I think when we have an authentic pursuit of our true identity, that's when I think God honors that investment. And then when we're just giving our very best and we've prepared, we have a sense of urgency to be the best version of ourselves that we can, I think that it always ends up working out. Now, look, we may not win Conference USA as the champion or the conference tournament or even get to the NCAA tournament or postseason, but it won't mean it's a failure. We try in our program, try and stay away from being stamped by what the outcome is. I get it. I really do. It's really important that we're competitive, and we are. But I just think for our guys, I want them to keep investing in the process of getting better, because that always wins the day in life, in relationships, and in your game or your career.
All right, Conference USA starts on Saturday. Tell us a little bit about Western Kentucky. They're coming in 7 straight wins. Steve Lutz, I think that's how you say his name, looks like he's doing a heck of a job there in his first year at Bowling Green.
Nick, you are elite with the numbers, so I know you've looked at it and see that our first 3 games are against the highest rated, whatever, Ken Palm or net teams, and 2 of them are on the road. So we didn't get a great draw there in terms of difficulty. But again, I think that's one of the benefits of having played a tough non-conference schedule. Coach Lutz has done a great job everywhere he's been. He's been a head coach at Texas A&M Corpus Christi. He's done the JUCO rank. He was an assistant for Matt Painter. Man, they're a version of Alabama in their tempo. So I know, like, I see you guys, you're starting to sweat a little bit. But I think they really try and hang their hat on the defensive end. So it'll be a stiff challenge. Diddle's a tough place to play. Western, a couple of my friends who are in Conference USA, they said that has traditionally been the hardest place to win a game. Now, I know how tough it is to win in Las Cruces or El Paso as well. So it'll be, we have our work cut out for us. But you guys know, like our guys have traditionally been pretty good on the road. Defense usually travels, and hopefully we can defend in such a way that gives us a chance to come out of there victorious.
Yeah, I was surprised to see this was the first time Western and Liberty have ever played against each other. So I think the conference season will be fun. I'm going to steal Nick's thunder here, but Zach Cleveland has been a lot of fun to watch these last few games. How will he be kind of a key to success for you guys going into conference play?
Yeah, well, good question. Like Zach is he's unique. He does some different things that most forwards don't do. like if you said, is there a guy on your team that doesn't have a position? It would be Zach. And who we have around him, I think he has the ability to kind of identify what our team needs and give it to us. We have other playmakers, Colin Porter, who's excellent, Caden Matheny, Kyle Rode. So we have some guys, but I think Zach is, well, he's starting to realize his value and taking a little bit more of an aggressive approach to that end of the floor. But he and Joseph, those dudes they're the guys that kind of set the temperature for us. They play with such a passion and such an intensity that I think we draw some energy from it. So I like what he's doing. I think he does play a critical role, but there's some other guys that are as critical. Look, when you lose a Darius McGee, who you could kind of sit back and watch create a basket or create an opportunity for a teammate, you got to adjust. And we're still learning what's the best version ourselves on both ends. But, man, our guys are pursuing it hard, and I think we're getting better.
All right, one last question for you, Coach. And I wanted to bring in a special guest to ask this question. We got Gabriel McKay on here. Gabriel's been a lot of fun to watch, leading the team in three-point percentage, at least against Division I opponents, because that's what Impom tracks at 41%. How awesome has it been as a dad to see Gabriel, who's really become, I think, like a fan favorite this year, just bringing in a lot of energy and shooting the ball really, really well this year?
Nick, can I stay on for this segment?
Absolutely.
Because like all the deposits that we give him for some of the chores he does around the house, look at the background on his wall. Like we give him money for pictures and things like that. And that's, I don't know, Nick. No, it's been, I said this to one of the commentators in the prep for, I can't remember which game it was. These have been my most enjoyable years as a coach these last 5 years, because I've had a chance to have my sons, one or both of them, in the locker room the whole time. And it's this profession that God's put me in it's such a blessing. It's such a get to and not a have to, but it's even better and more fulfilling when you get to do life every day with your kids, your adult children. So I'm proud of him for the way he's grown, not just as a player, but as a young man. And he's got a leadership gift on his life, and he's playing really well. Fortunately, I think he's got the ability to be a coach's son in the locker room and not that's probably his fault too. Not let
Cleveland.
Is that your phone?
Yeah, Zach Cleveland.
Oh.
Ears are burning.
Yeah.
I know.
Not let his integrity wane in having that role. So yeah, really proud of him. Love him to death, and love getting a chance to do life in the locker room with him as we have in our home.
What did you guys trade for Christmas? What were the gifts in the McKay home from Gabe to Coach, and from Coach to Gabe?
I'm going to let you go ahead and take this one. Yeah, let's see what Will and Nick said. Like, this could be another version of the Players Lounge. Talk to us.
Unfortunately, the Players Lounge was not paying enough money for a really expensive gift, but I got him a nice framed picture of me and him, and I think it's something that's not as important money-wise or as expensive as some gifts, but it's something that he's going to remember and cherish forever.
Yeah.
Personal touch.
Well said. Well said. And what did you get?
Some shoes, that probably will only last me a couple months.
Oh my goodness, Nick, I better sign off because you can see the steam coming out of my ears.
Well, Coach, appreciate you coming on. Best of luck this conference season. I can't wait for WKU on Saturday night, and we'll hopefully catch up again soon.
Yeah, appreciate all you guys do, and the way you brand our program, the Flames Nation. And again, stay with our guys. We had a really good non-conference, and we're trying hard to continue to elevate our program and seeing if we can't continue to compete for a championship. Have a great night.
Thanks, Coach. All right. Well, that was Coach McKay. Now we got Gabriel McKay. Gabriel, we've been wanting to get you on for a while. Will's been like, when are you going to get him on? When are you going to ask? When are you going to ask? And I was like, we got to do it. So first of the year, here we are. what's this season been like for you? We talked with Coach, your pops, about how difficult this non-conference was. How's the season been overall?
Yeah, thanks for having me, first of all. This season has been probably a testament. I think our group and our guys, we have big goals that we want to accomplish. And I think every game we've had has been a step, whether it's been a win or a loss. And I think, seeing a good team like Alabama and who's probably going to be a tournament team, seeing them and how they do things, it's just one of those things that we learn from, what we need to get better with. And then even games like Boyce and just other non-ones, just seeing how well we can move the ball and how we're able to knock down shots when they're great shots. So every single game has a purpose, and we come into that with that mentality of how can we learn and get better to prepare us for where we want to be down the road.
Is there going to be a celebration when you break the Liberty record for 4-point plays? I feel like every game you get one or two. I don't know how that works out.
I don't know if it's my selling, but I've always been taught if they don't give you space, you fall, number one. But I don't think I'm going to surpass Darius in that category. I remember him having a couple of them. So thank you, Darius, for teaching me how to do that.
So Conference USA play starts. I'm curious, like you, and maybe just give us the vibe of the team. Are you guys excited to get to go to like all these new arenas? Like I'm looking at like pictures of Western Kentucky. I know I've seen them on TV before, but Liberty's never played them before, and they look like they have a really cool environment. Looks like they have good fan support. What's kind of that feeling like for you and the team?
Yeah, we're excited. It's always cool to go to a new place and see what different arenas and atmospheres are like. But we've heard some stories already from Coach about Western Kentucky being rowdy. So having those guys, and I think it's cool. Like you see Kyle Rode, who's been at every single ASON opponent, and he's got everyone, and he's learning the scout. Like he knew Lipscomb like the back of his hand, so now he's learning Western Kentucky, and he already knows them like the back of his hand. But when you see that, it's just like it's a cool experience for us to just go to different places in different states and see what it's like. So we're excited, and we're excited for conference to really show what Liberty is about.
Yeah. How much is the game, like how much do you expect the game to speed up? I mean, I know you came in from Trevecca, and was that like the Great Midwest Conference or something like that, I think? Yeah. And, and then you jump into, you're playing Alabama and Grand Canyon and Vermont and Wichita State. Like how much is the game kind of sped up in a sense from, one league to the next?
Yeah, I think there's some great players over in the GMAC, actually. There's a couple of great teams, but I think when I first got here, actually, I almost needed the redshirt year. I took a redshirt year, and I had to get adjusted, I would say, just because I don't think you recognize how physical or how fast it may be. And I think just each year you kind of see it more and more. Like now with just being out there on the court, you start to feel yourself like, wow, like, all right, this is going. You can't let the last play affect the next. But it really does speed up. And I think it sped up the most over in Utah Valley. That altitude actually was pretty brutal. And I don't think you realize it, but Caleb Holmesley, he had a workout for the Jazz, and he played up there, and he let our team know. He told me, he said, hey, it's no joke. So be ready for that. And I think it was actually a good help. And we got out there a little early and got our lungs used to the altitude. So, but that one, I was feeling the pace for sure.
All right, Gabriel, I'm going to ask you the cliche question because I think it's what people want to know. So what's it like playing for your father? I feel like you could, it's got to be fun, but at the same time, you could easily have people say, coach takes it easy on your son. And then you could also have like the coach who, well, I can't take it easy on my son. I got to be harder on him to kind of make up for it. What's that like? And what's that dynamic?
It definitely took some getting used to, for sure. But I always say I get to do what I love with the people I love the most. And I think to start, I don't know if I would have been able to do it without Luke, just because I saw him do it and have his role and how he served. I think him seeing it and him also being there on the staff to help me get used to it. Like, I mean, there's definitely times I'm not the happiest with Coach McKay. And I think, I think knowing that he wants what's best for not only me, but everyone on the team, like, I think you just have to, there's a bit of maturity to it, but it's honestly one of the greatest experiences. And I think it's even better when my mom's yelling at him to put me in, because that's his wife. So it's like, yeah, that's a good little benefit for me. But I think it's honestly one of the greatest things I've ever gotten to do. And there's a couple challenges, of course, me getting mad and whatever it may be in, but I wouldn't trade it for the world. And just being able to do literally my favorite thing with my favorite people, it's been undescribable. It's incredible.
Yeah, I was going to ask, like, what is your mom's response? Like, is she like, on your dad about, like, I mean, Gabe should be in it right now, or like, you need to take Gabe out right now, or like, how does that dynamic work?
My mom is probably my biggest supporter, of course, and I think it helps me a lot. Mom, I love you. She's not the greatest basketball mind sometimes. I think she sees the ball go in sometimes, but I don't know if she's really knowing how effective I'm being on the offensive side, but it definitely helps with her being at home. She's like, man, why didn't you play G more? It's like, hey, go ahead, Mom, you ask him. I won't ask him. You got it. But she's a big fan. But I know he's probably making the right decision when he puts me in and when he doesn't. So it's been good. Mom's a big help in my category. She's in my corner.
Well, fantastic. Well, we're big fans here too as well, and I think that 41% 3-point percentage, you've earned that. So keep it up, my man. We appreciate your time, and best of luck in conference play this year.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me, guys.
Thanks.
All right, we're gonna have a quick word from Jason Porter Real Estate, and then we'll be right back with Tim Scarborough.
Well, hey, everybody. My name is Jason Porter. I'm with Legacy Realty and Development, and it's been a great partnership here with Sea of Red lately. I was with Liberty Athletics as the Associate Athletic Director for Sports Medicine, so took care of all of the healthcare needs and coordinated that with a fantastic staff at Liberty in the athletic department, of course, for about 5 or 6 years, and then moved into real estate full-time and with Legacy Realty and Development. And it's just been a great pleasure to continue to stay connected with my Liberty University family and the athletics family as well. Been enjoying serving them. A lot of the graduate assistants and some of the staff that I hired has come back now and has been using me for residential services, which I really appreciate. But certainly do residential real estate as far as buying and selling of homes, of course. And then also we have a strong commercial presence as well. So commercial real estate, obviously a very, very different animal than is residential. But whether it's buying and selling commercial properties or just the leasing of properties, we can help with that as well. So it's been a great opportunity to service our commercial clients as well. And then certainly on the investment front too, a number of folks who have discovered the power of passive income through real estate and investing in real estate with rental properties or fix and flips, those kind of things. And so great joy to serve my clients in that capacity as well. The other thing that I would add too is just a very, very full Rolodex at this point of contractors and subs and just different professional contacts that I've made through the years. So if I can ever provide any of those folks to you and all of a sudden you need a plumber or an electrician or a contractor to build your deck, whatever, I'd certainly be glad to give you access to that Rolodex and those references as well. Because a lot of times it's not exactly who you know, it's who you know that knows how to do the job well. And so I would be glad to provide those services for you as well. So love Flames Nation, love taking care of my Liberty family. And if there's ever anything I can do for you, my contact information is all right here on the screen. And I would love to be a service to you and yours. Thanks so much.
All right, we're back with our guy Tim Scarborough to help us preview Conference USA. Tim, how you doing, man?
What's up, guys? Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, absolutely. We love having you on. And when we were getting ready for conference play, there was one guy I knew we had to bring on. It's Tim, because I know you covered Conference USA for a long time. Not as much this year, though, right? What all are you up to this year?
Yeah, it's interesting, man. This year has been kind of a pivot moment for me in terms of my career. I'm focusing more on HBCUs. I work for HBCU Go. They kind of treat me like a celebrity. I'm not just a Liberty celebrity anymore. Now I'm an HBCU Go celebrity. I did a commercial for them, did season's greetings. They have me doing studio work. The studio's here in Atlanta, so it's like a home game. But I'm still following Conference USA as closely as I can because, I do the NASCAR podcast, of course, with Paul Nazigan. And, I just love Conference USA. As you mentioned, I've been covering it for almost a decade. I've done every Conference USA tournament since 2014, when it was in Birmingham and the many years in Frisco, Texas. Love the conference. It's not the same as it was, but for me personally, it's a little bit better because Liberty's in it now. But what a fun conference it's been. The world finally got to see how competitive the Conference USA has been over the years with FAU going to the Final Four. Thank God those guys aren't around, and North Texas and Old Dominion and Marshall and some of those power teams that Conference USA had, but still plenty left in the tank. It's going to be very challenging for the Flames this year.
Well, Scar, since you're a Liberty guy, I don't want to take anything away from what Richie Longshots is doing with the football podcast, but I need to know if you watched the Fiesta Bowl or if you were working and you called up later, or what were your thoughts on that?
Did I watch the Fiesta Bowl? Of course I did. I thought it started at 4 Eastern though, so I tuned in late and I was getting all these text messages and seeing tweets. I'm like, oh my gosh, the game's on now. But I have a DVR, so I started watching from the beginning, and I put my phone away for about 45 minutes, and then I saw that it was getting a little bit out of the hand.
Yeah.
So I said, let me jump up and see what's going on. And so I missed the middle bad part. So I saw the beginning where it was good, and Caden Salter led them right down for a touchdown, missed the extra point. And I was like, man, that stinks, because if they don't score the rest of the game, it's going to look like they didn't even get in the end zone, like they kicked 2 field goals. But having said that, that result for me personally was kind of what I expected. I'm a fan, but I'm also an analyst, and I do. You guys probably don't know this, but I also do football and baseball too, coming up this year for Flow Sports. So
nice.
I have a really big football mind. This sounds crazy, but at one time I was in the top 20 in the world in John Madden. In the world. So, and I did that because I have a good football mind. I could hit the buttons a little bit too, but I had to retire from that because it got too intense. But so I understanding the way football works, that seemed like a mismatch to me in terms of when I I was hoping Liberty could score with them a little bit, but I knew there was no way they were going to stop Bo Nix in that offense because nobody has. I mean, you got a 24-year-old quarterback, should be in the NFL. He's going to be in the NFL next year. All sorts of receivers. And Liberty, quite honestly, had trouble with the Western Kentuckys and the New Mexico States of this world in football, stopping them. Of course, they were able to outscore those teams, but, I knew it would be a long day for that defensive secondary, and it sure was. But I was very proud to see Liberty playing on New Year's Day. I mean, there's no getting around that. But, man, that was quite a moment.
Happy to be there.
Absolutely. It was quite a moment in Liberty history. And we've been around for some big moments, and I've been around this program for well over 30 plus years. I think about the first time we as Liberty basketball had a first Division I win. I can think about when Eric Green and that football team had their first Division I win at Eastern Michigan. Robbie Justino threw a touchdown at, the last play of the game. You go back to the 94 team that won their Big South championship and got to play against Carolina and was up with 10 minutes to go in the game, So there's a lot of big moments in Liberty history. Rashad Jennings, you can go on and on, football and basketball in particular. But this moment right here, to me, I thought my biggest athletic moment was when Liberty beat BYU in football. I was happy to be in Lynchburg for that one. But I think playing in the Fiesta Bowl might be the biggest thing that's ever happened to Liberty athletics.
For sure.
Well, Scar, before we get into talking about, I want to get really your opinion on Western Kentucky, and then we'll talk about the Conference USA as a whole. Talk about, as you guys do an awesome job on the NASCAR podcast, a absolute must listen. What's your overall thoughts on this Liberty team? Obviously, we talked with Coach McKay. By far, I think the most difficult non-conference schedule they've ever played, at least since they've become a really established program of recent years. where they're not bye games. Maybe there was a year where they did that, but what's kind of just your overall thoughts on kind of where this team's at? Kind of some ups and downs, but overall 11-4 with that schedule, you have to, as a whole, feel pretty good about it.
I feel good about this group. I again, as an analyst, I temper my expectations of what this team can do. They are not going to do what football did in terms of dominating Conference USA. Football in Conference USA is a lot different than basketball Conference USA. There's a lot of great coaches, and I mean great coaches. Talvin Hester at Louisiana Tech is a great coach. The new coach at New Mexico State, who was at Sam Houston, a really good coach. Coach Lutz at Western. I mean, he's been around. He knows what to do. Western Kentucky is a really good basketball job. I mean, that program has a lot of history, and I do Western Kentucky games for E+, so I'm in EA Diddle Arena a lot. That atmosphere is incredible. I'm telling you, it is big time. I've been around a lot of good mid-major programs. VCU comes to mind in terms of atmosphere. It's not what it used to be, but in the glory days of Shaka Smart, Anthony Grant, some of those guys that had that program, man, it was a great electric atmosphere. EA Diddle's not quite what that is, but it's close. And when that team is going and that team gets going very well in that arena, it's a really tough place to come in there and leave with a win. I mean, teams like Louisville can't go in there and win. I mean, it's just really, really hard to do.
Yeah. Hey, Scar, a question for you. I was going to ask Coach, but I want to ask you as well. As you said, you don't expect, Liberty to run the table through the conference. Apart from winning conference championship, what should the New Year's resolution for this team be? Well, where should the expectations lay at going through the conference schedule?
Here's the thing I know about this Liberty program, and you could see the dichotomy sometimes. Just this past weekend, think about they play one of the greatest teams in the nation in Alabama, and then you turn around and play Boyce. I think their demeanor stays the same whether they're playing Boyce or Alabama. They go out and they compete against, excellence. They compete against themselves. They try to get better. So that's what I like about the temperament of this group. And I like that about Ritchie's program in general over the years. Having said that, I would say that the expectations to win Conference USA, to me, is lofty. I think it's going to be really difficult for this particular group. And I like this group, but they certainly have some areas that can be exploited. They're a solid defensive team, and they're very cohesive, and I like the way they play together. The size factor is going to be an issue in Conference USA. Western Kentucky is going to have 6'11" guys that know how to play basketball. They're going to have 6'5", 6'6" guards going up against our 5'10", 5'8" guards. So, and not just Western. Louisiana Tech is going to be athletic. New Mexico State's going to be athletic. Middle Tennessee won't be as big, but they're going to be very athletic. And they're all going to try to get up and down and speed the game up. And the thing about Ritchie's group that's really good defensively, along with Virginia, North Texas, and teams like that I've covered and seen in person, their transition defense is exceptional. Now, they don't go to the glass. When the shot goes up, 4 guys are going back, and they might send that one guy in there to try to battle. But for the most part, they're trying to keep you out of transition. So Liberty can slow the game down a little bit against Western Kentucky. Don't want to let them get that thing rolling, because when they do, boy, are they good. But I'll say this about this group. When they're shooting the ball in, they are tough. And I really like when they play the 3 small guards together with Porter and Peebles and of course, Matheny. And I was just thinking about him Saturday. I called that game Saturday versus Alabama. Alabama did something that not everybody can do. Alabama was running the 6'10" guys out there at the small forward position, and they played kind of a matchup zone where they kept one of those big wings around the top of the key where we see Matheny taking those step back shots, creating space. There was no space to create shooting over those 6'10s. Having said that, he was still 4 for 10 from downtown. So just a special kid, Caden Matheny. But in the end, this group is going to have to play collectively, cohesively, and battle every night and see where they come out. And I don't know if it's going to be at the top of Conference USA, but they'll be there.
All right, let's talk a little bit about Western Kentucky. I got some notes here, and then we'll get your opinion just kind of on maybe the program more in general. So this is the first matchup. Of course, this is on national TV, which is pretty cool. Liberty's first Conference USA game is on CBS Sports Network, 6 o'clock on Saturday. Western Kentucky, they come in 11-3. They've won 7 in a row under first-year head coach Steve Lutz. He took Texas A&M Corpus Christi to the NCAA tournament in both of his only 2 years there as the head coach. Western Kentucky, they've been ranked in the top 175 in KenPom in 6 straight seasons, finished in the top 3 of CUSA in 5 of the last 6. But they haven't been to the NCAA tournament since 2013. Really hungry team. Last time was actually under current Jacksonville State head coach Ray Harper, who Liberty will see next. They lost the CUSA championship in 2018, 2019, and 21. They get a really good attendance, over 4,000 a game last year. They played.
That was a low year for them, by the way. They used to average close to 6 or 7. Yeah, that's a low year for them. They had a bad year last year, and that's why Coach Rick Stansbury is not there. Primarily the attendance and then the expectations of that program. And that, as you mentioned, they haven't been to the NCAA tournament in 12 years, 13 years, and that's a high for that program. That's a team that was a perennial NCAA tournament team. And moving to Conference USA, they felt like they would have multiple opportunities, and they did. They just couldn't seal the deal. That 2018, 2021, I was there for all those games, of course. And, we're talking one possession on most of those games. Old Dominion got them, Marshall got them. It's a fine line between winning and losing in this league. And it often comes down to 1 or 2 possessions. So, you remember at the Atlantic Sun Tournament Championship, another game I got to call here in Atlanta with Alan York on radio. It was a battle possession by possession, and it was a really tough environment. Every night in Conference USA is going to be like that. Or for the most part. You might go to FIU and there might not be a lot of people there. But for the most part, there's going to be an intense playoff atmosphere, tournament type atmosphere, night in and night out. And, the better team, the team that can withstand some of those momentum driving situations are going to be the teams that overcome it. But Western was close, but they just couldn't get there.
Yeah. First Conference USA game is actually just tipped off. UTEP in New Mexico State.
Yeah,
they got a really good environment. Yeah, we both got it on CBS Sports Network. Just really cool. You're playing a conference that has 2 nationally televised games in the first week. That's
it's
really
fun.
Cool to see.
Yeah, I've actually called that game. I called the New Mexico State UTEP game. I think 2 years ago for Stadium. So, and that was in El Paso. But yeah, I miss being able to go. You mentioned some of those arenas. El Paso was certainly a fun place to go. I always like going to Old Dominion. Of course, they went to the Sun Belt now. And I loved going down to Florida, though FAU wasn't the team that we saw in the Final Four for many years. They toiled at the bottom of Conference USA. Not many people have been able to do what certainly Dusty May has done there. But some really good venues. It's going to be a fun road trip after road trip. I miss going to Marshall and Huntington, West Virginia. Just so many great places to go, man. But yeah, there's still plenty of places left over. Ruston, Louisiana, is a fun place to go. So it's going to be a fun ride for this Liberty team, but they are going to be challenged for sure.
So you think it beats going to Bowie's Creek, North Carolina, and Radford, Virginia, and Clinton, South Carolina, and all those places?
Bowie's Creek, North Carolina. When I played, and we played Campbell when I played many years ago, we got stuck in Bowie's Creek after the game. And we had to spend the night in their dorms / barracks. They look more like Army barracks than the plush dorms that they have at Liberty, that's for sure. But
I'm about 30 minutes from there, so.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't miss Bowie's Creek. I got to be honest.
All right. So a little bit more about this Western Kentucky team, this year's team. They play crazy fast. I know, Tim, you talked about a little bit earlier, but Steve Lutz has really, I think, sped them up even more. 5th fastest tempo in the country. They're a really, really good defensive team. Top 100. They 21st in 3-point defense. So that's one thing that we'll see how those two sides clash on Saturday.
Yeah.
They also ranked 76th in forcing turnovers. They've struggled offensively. I got a couple of slides coming up talking a little bit about a couple of their players, which kind of, I think, explain that a little bit more, but they don't shoot very well from 3-point on the other end. I think some of that might swing back the other way because they've got some guys that have been good 3-point shooters that just haven't really manifested so far this year, but they also don't attempt that much. They're 337th in the country in 3-point attempts. Not a good free throw shooting team either. But they played a tough schedule as well, kind of like Liberty. They had 0 losses to bad teams outside of the top 200, so they have not lost to a bad team all year. And they went on the road, won at Wright State and at Cal Baptist, 2 really quality wins, 2 top 100 wins. So just kind of anything else about Western Kentucky, Scar, stand out to you, kind of looking at some of these numbers this year?
Yeah, no, I think a lot has not really changed. Rick Stansbury had similar metrics when he played there. They weren't a great 3-point shooting team when he was the coach there. Weren't a great 3-point shooting team. Really good at the defensive end, and they got to the rim a lot, and they got to the free throw line a lot. They threw the ball into the paint. Rick was running 3 out, 2 in, which you really see. You rarely see these days, but they were really deliberate in getting the ball in the paint. And I suspect they'll play a little faster than they played last year, but they're still trying to drive the ball down your throat, even on the half court. And, they're going to be very physical. They're going to grab and hold and push and shove on defense. And referees aren't going to call a lot of that stuff in EA Diddle Arena. So Liberty players are going to have to play tough on Saturday. But again, it's a tough road. You have to play at Western. Then you get Ray Harper, former Western Kentucky Hilltopper coach, who's now at Jacksonville State, coming in there. And then you go back on the road to Louisiana Tech. And that's tough. That's going to be tough. So good luck getting a good start for the Liberty Flames.
Yeah. Well, I feel like, Carter, you kind of feel like by the time the end of January 14th rolls around, we'll kind of have an idea of maybe not is Liberty going to win Conference USA, but are they the clear favorite, or are they really going to have to grind through the season? You think maybe after these first 3 games we'll kind of have a good idea?
I think I have a good idea right now. They are not the clear favorites. They're just not. I mean, they it's really it's honoring that they got picked to be number 1. In all the years I've covered Conference USA, the team that got picked number 1 rarely was number 1 in this league. It's just very competitive. And when you have that number 1 tag, man, do you get everybody's best shot early on. So they didn't do Ritchie McKay any favors by picking them to win this league. And some of those veteran teams like Middle and Louisiana Tech are still around and competed in that old Conference USA and say, hey, this is still our conference. These newbies coming in, New Mexico State and Jacksonville State, Liberty, Sam Houston, listen, you guys are going to have to figure out how to play in Conference USA. We already know how to play in Conference USA. So, yeah, I mean, of course, if Liberty wins those first 3 games and they control it, I'll probably have a different take when the facts change. But right now, I just don't see that happening.
Well, it's funny you say Liberty was co-picked to win the league, and Middle Tennessee was the other team, dead last in net by the time Conference USA season starts at 3-11. Liberty actually just got passed by Louisiana Tech. I don't know, Scar. We're getting off track a little bit. We'll get back to Western Kentucky in a minute. I don't know how much you've saw Louisiana Tech, but they've struggled of late. But that team, they played a really tough schedule. Isaiah Crawford is a really good player, and that Daniel Bacho is that's the guy that I'm really worried about. How is Liberty going to match up against him? 6'11" big, kind of the guy on Florida Atlantic.
Vlad Golden.
Yeah,
Golden.
When I saw Liberty struggle so much with him, and then I watched Bacho, I'm like, ooh, that might be the tough matchup. So, any thoughts on La Tech?
Yeah, as I mentioned, Talvin Hester, one of the better young coaches in the country, came up through amongst many big name coaches, but the coach at Houston, Kelvin Sampson, he was big with them. And actually, he came up through Louisiana Tech as an assistant under the prior coach, Eric Conkle. So he's very familiar with this group, a really good recruiter. He's got a 6-year player in Isaiah Crawford. I feel like Crawford's been around Conference USA as long as I have. A really great defender, but in the last 2 years, he's also a really good scorer. So he's considered one of the best defenders in mid-major basketball. So now they have a big, they had a big earlier, kind of a 6'8" guy that's playing with the 76ers now, and Kenneth Lofton Jr. So they're used to having bigs, and of course Karl Malone. They play on Karl Malone court. They've always Louisiana Tech is known for they used to call them the dunking ruse. They dunk everything, but they're not quite that same high flying dunking team from those days. But they're still a team that likes to get up and down and get in transition, and they can really get it going. But they're going to be deliberate too, throwing the ball in the bacho. So yeah, it's going to be a tough matchup. Good luck, Kyle Rode and company.
All right, we'll wrap it up here with a little bit more on Western Kentucky. I got 3 players kind of to watch. The first is a really cool story. Don McHenry has been their best player by far this year, averaging almost 15 points a game. This was a JUCO transfer. He scored 30 points in their win at Wright State. He's averaging almost 18 points for the last 6 games, shooting the lights out. 88% from the free throw line, 40% from 3-point, 6'0 point guard. So he's kind of been the story, but they had 2 players that were all conference, but not named Don McHenry, and he's kind of been the story so far this year. The other one's Brandon Newman. Transferred from Purdue. Lutz, I think, was part of recruiting him when he was the assistant at Purdue and got him back later on. He's kind of been a little bit of a disappointment so far this year, really struggling shooting the ball, only shooting 20% from three-pointer. But this is a guy who's played in 4 NCAA tournament games, played in all 35 games last year for Purdue. That was the team that was the number 1 overall seed in the NCAA tournament. And then he did score 15 points against Ohio State in the Big Ten semifinals. So he's 6'5" guard to watch. Kind of makes me nervous. A guy that shot 31% from 3 last year, only shooting 20% this year, feels like water finds its level. I hope it's not on Saturday. And then the other guy to watch is Dante Allen. He was the other preseason all-conference player. He's really struggled this year.
He's not even starting for them.
Yeah, he's only been averaging 15 and a half minutes over his last 8 games. Did, however, score 17 points to their win against Cal Baptist.
He could be special.
22 and 23. So nice to have a guy 6'6" coming off your bench, shooting 39% from 3. So yeah, I mean, this is a deep West Kentucky team. This guy played at Kentucky. Scored 23 points in the SEC championship game. That was a really bad Kentucky team that year, one of the rare bad Kentucky teams. But yeah, these are the players to watch. This is a really good Western Kentucky team, man. I'm excited for the game to tip on Saturday. I feel like if Liberty can find a way to get this win on Saturday, I feel like it really sets them up well. I don't feel like if they lose, though, it's like the sky's falling. They have no chance in Conference USA, but definitely a big test right off the bat.
Yeah, you didn't even mention Christian Lander, number 4. So he's a really good player, too. He's played in 12 of their 14 games. He comes off the bench now, too, but a really good athletic wing. So, yeah, I mean, Western Kentucky over the years, and I suspect it will continue, that transfer portal is going to be big for them. They're going to get Power 5 players each year that they come in, and they have a little bit of an uneven playing field in terms of being able to afford to bring in some of these players. But they're going to be a handful on Saturday, and I can't wait. I wish I could go there. I'm going to be in Jackson, Mississippi. I'm doing Alcorn State and Jackson State on Saturday for HBCU Go. But otherwise, I would have been up in Bowling Green watching that game in person. But it's going to be fun. It's going to be a fun matchup. It'll be a real first test for Conference USA for Liberty basketball.
Yeah, what other kind of just thought on them, but kind of curious your thought on this, Scar, is looking through like their usage. Like they don't have many guys. Their highest guy, I think, plays like 60% of their minutes, where Liberty has like Colin Porter playing 81%. Matheny's at 77, Rhodes at 71. And I think Rhodes a little deceiving because he's gotten some games where he's gotten rest at the end of the game. I think he probably in a game like this plays more than that, where, Western Kentucky, man, they're a lot deeper. They play a lot more guys. What kind of test do you think that kind of gives a team like Liberty will have on Saturday?
Yeah, Saturday that might not rear its head, but over the course of a season, when you start logging those minutes down the stretch, when your team goes through that prior to the tournament lag that some teams get, I think back to Middle Tennessee People talk about that FAU team. Kermit Davis a few years ago, and Joe Pierre, the assistant coach for Liberty, can vouch for it because he was the grad assistant during those years at Middle Tennessee. Those are the best Conference USA teams I've seen in the last 10 years, even better than the FAU team this past year. But one thing I noticed about those Kermit Davis teams at the end of the year, man, they used to run out of gas. They always had that last game, they'd be 17-1 in the conference and lose to a Southern Miss or somebody at home or a Marshall. Not that Marshall was bad. Marshall was really good. But, they'd lose to a team that people felt like they should beat. And there was a couple of years where they lost in the first round of the conference tournament because they just ran out of gas at the end of the year. Of course, they did win the conference tournament for 2 years and win NCAA games and beat Michigan State. But for the most part, man, I've seen how not playing a lot of guys can really catch up with you at the end of the year. So that depth is going to help Western in March for sure.
If you could identify,
go ahead.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
If you could identify, one or two guys from Liberty that are going to need to get off to a good start against Western and these first couple of games that maybe haven't done as great in out of conference play, probably going to need some. We know what we're going to get out of Road. We know what we're going to get out of Matheny, out of Zach Cleveland. He's coming on strong. Can you identify a couple of guys you think that need to get off to a strong start?
I mean, honestly, all those guys need to play above their pay grade. All three of the guys you mentioned, they've played well, but they'll need to step it up a little bit more. And then you need to get Shiloh Robinson back to where he used to be. He's a guy that I felt like was he in his 12th year at Liberty now? I felt like this would be the guy that would kind of be a focal point, and he hasn't really been that yet. And, I feel like talking to that staff that they think Shiloh is on the verge of a breakthrough too. So Shiloh can really certainly on Saturday with the athletic quotient going up a little bit, I feel like he'll get more minutes. And I feel like if he can get his confidence back, Shiloh Robinson could be kind of an X factor for this Liberty group.
Yeah, I like that. That's a really good point, Scar. I definitely feel like it feels like Shiloh is due to really kind of break out. We've seen him at times, man, really look really good. And it's just been that consistency that's lacked. But we see guys throughout Liberty that especially in Ritchie McKay's system where you have players that grow and become better, that light bulb moment hits and they really click, and it could be Shiloh. So I like that.
Yep. Shiloh for sure. Shiloh it seems like to me, I mean, he's been around and he's had success. It seems like he's lost a little bit of his confidence, but that can happen with just a couple of big plays and big moments. And all of a sudden, you start feeling really good about yourself, and that starts to snowball and becomes a kind of a reset for him with this conference starting on Saturday. It might be a good opportunity for him to regain his confidence.
Yeah, he's a guy. I think a lot of us thought, coming into the program, like, hey, here's a guy that could have, professional, potential. I know he last year started coming off the bench instead of starting a little bit more. And, but I think he's a guy that, if Liberty is going to have any success at being in that top echelon of the conference, like he's going to
need him.
He's going to have to be there.
They're going to need him. Yep. And I love the spark that Gabe McKay gives them off the bench. You mentioned the 40% three-point shooting. He kind of reminded me of a sophomore Tim Scarborough who did that. I played about 15 minutes a game. I shot 44% from three that year, and came in and gave 5 or 6, 7 points a game, and defended and just gave the team a lift. I feel like Gabe is doing that role. So he can continue to do that, and maybe even get a little bit more minutes if Julie McKay has anything to say about it, right?
Yeah. Well, Scar, this has been a lot of fun. I really appreciate you coming on, getting your insight. What's the next game you're calling?
Yeah, I'm on Saturday down in Mississippi. I'll be flying out tomorrow in Jackson State versus Alcorn State. So,
is that on HBCU Go?
So HBCU Go, it's on a channel called The Griot. You might not know you have that, but it's on every cable network. And actually, I'm doing 2 games. Again, they're giving me dynamic roles. I'm in the studio as an analyst. I'm an analyst in the games, but for the women's game, I'll also be the sideline reporter. So I'm doing a dual role. So it's a double header on Saturday. The women's game is first. I'll be the sideline reporter, and then I'll flip flop with Courtney Tate, who is our sideline reporter for the men's games. She's going to be in the analyst role for the women's game. So then we'll switch seats and do the men's game. So it should be fun. Right. And I'll be working with the legend Charlie Neal. And most people, if you ever watched BET sports in the 80s and 90s and some Turner sports in the early days of Turner broadcasting, Charlie Neal was a big deal back then. Kind of like your Chris Berman of those networks. So he's in his 70s now, but he's still got his fastball, and he's a really good. I mean, when we walk into these schools, I'm invisible. No one knows who I am, and everybody's like, "Hey, Charlie! Hey, Charlie! Hey, Charlie! What about Scar? What about Tim?" Nobody sees me when I'm with Charlie. So,
well, I was going to say, hey, they usually only put the good-looking people on the sideline reports. So.
I'll be doing it from the sideline, but I won't be on camera, right? You just hear my voice. No, I'm kidding.
Well, I believe the HBCU Go is also on Smart TV. I think I have an app on my.
There's an app. Yeah, there's a lot of different ways to watch it for sure.
Somebody might put a little coin on some games. I know where just about every game you can find this. I saw you on there, Scar.
I'm surprised you don't call me like the other degenerate gamblers out here. They're like, Scar, what's the deal with New Mexico or
I'm a
teams that I know I cover.
Numbers.
I know. I hear you.
Stick with the system. Don't deviate. That's where you get yourself in trouble.
And then you can't pick with your heart. See, I could have won you a lot of money on Monday going against the Flames. I know you hate to do that, but I kind of could have told you that was going to happen.
Nope, I never bet any team I'm invested in. Never bet them. Never do it.
You're not Pete Rose.
No. All right,
I stay out of it. I'm trying to shepherd people's souls over here.
Right, I hear you, Will. Good for you. I'm not a gambler.
Well,
either.
I tithe all my winnings.
There you go.
There you go. That dirty money.
that money's been the devil's long enough. That's what Jerry Senior used to say.
Yeah, exactly. That's great.
You guys ready for the segue of the decade here to wrap?
Yeah, here we go.
Put your bet winnings into Flames Rising. Here's an ad. Thanks, Scar, for coming on.
Hey, Flames Nation, this is Kyle Rode.
This is Rachel Root.
This is Kato Salter.
We would just want to say thank you for supporting athletes like us through the Flames Rising Collective.
The Flames Rising Collective is a registered 501c3, providing opportunities for student athletes to use their name, image, and likeness while serving our local community.
100% of everything contributed to the collective will go directly to creating name, image, and likeness opportunities for Liberty student athletes.
Help us be champions for Christ and champions on the field. Flames.
All right. Well, appreciate Scar. That was a lot of fun. Could have talked to Scar for the next like 3 hours. The guy's just a walking basketball encyclopedia. Will.
Yep. Yeah, they could probably get him on the football podcast too, and let him go for a little while.
Well, good stuff. Well, we'll wrap it up here in just a second. Wanted just to kind of get Will your final thoughts, kind of as we do get into conference play. As mentioned, Louisiana Tech, they passed Liberty in net. I know Scar thinks doesn't think Liberty should be the favorite. I gotta differ with him there. I get that it's the first year in CUSA, but Liberty at this point has a track record as an elite mid-major program, and I think that transfers. So we'll see. I still have Liberty at the top. I think Liberty and Louisiana Tech are 1A and 1B. I think Western Kentucky, if they play well on Saturday, could get themselves in the conversation as maybe one of the top three. But I do think Liberty and Louisiana Tech have separated themselves quite a bit. What's kind of your overall thoughts, Will?
Yeah, I'm a little bit more optimistic, I think. I mean, I still see Liberty as a top 3 or 4 team. I'm with Scar in the fact that, hey, it's not going to be a cakewalk. This is, a little bit different than the ASON. But I'm still pretty positive that, the out-of-conference schedule that Liberty has played.
Yeah.
You compare that with Western Kentucky's schedule, and I think it's a little bit stronger than Western Kentucky's schedule. And, I haven't done a deep dive into every single team's out-of-conference schedule, but I feel like the toughness of our schedule coupled with some of those, non D1s, I think it sets us up nicely, to go into the Conference USA.
Yeah, that's a really good point, Will. And then I think on the flip side, these teams also haven't played Liberty yet. They haven't played the pack line defense. They haven't played an elite offensive team that Liberty is. So they're also going to have to adjust to playing Liberty. So I do think you have to go a little bit there. And then, one thing, remember when Liberty joined the ASON, ran through it. I mean, only Lipscomb, and then they lost one game at North Florida late in the year. But these were all teams that had never saw Liberty, and Liberty had a lot of dominating wins. And this conference is a lot better than that conference, but I do think some of that, these teams haven't saw Liberty. I think Ritchie McKay is the best coach in this league, and I don't think it's very close. And I'm not saying that just because he was on the podcast tonight, but I really do genuinely believe that. So I'm going to always trust. I'm always going to trust Ritchie, especially when Liberty's ranked as the top in some metrics or right there with Louisiana Tech and well above everyone else in the net.
Yeah, I think you just go with the track record alone of Coach McKay and where he's taken this program the last, so many years. I mean, really every year that he has been here in both stints, he's had Liberty rolling. And so I think until they prove otherwise, I give them the benefit of the doubt here.
Yeah. All right. Before we wrap this up, here's what's coming up in CUSA this week as UTEP and New Mexico State. New Mexico State was out to a big lead early. So New Mexico State, really impressive what they've done after a really difficult year off the court last year. First year head coach. They've been really competitive, and look at they're going to be competitive this year. FIU Jack State tomorrow at or Saturday, and then Louisiana Tech, they will be on the road at Sam Houston. So it'd be interesting to see does one of Louisiana Tech or Liberty, who I think we probably both believe are the two best teams, do either one of them slip up? But before we wrap this up, want to make sure that we give a shout out to Jason Porter Real Estate. Thanks for supporting this podcast. Shout out to Ironclad Coffee. Shout out to Experience Leesburg. And then, of course, the Flames Rising Collective. Appreciate that. Well, Will, I can't wait for Saturday. Get some actual Conference USA action going. We'll continue this podcast throughout the rest of the season. So stick along with us. I know John Manson is going to get involved a little bit more now that football's over and with the podcast. So we're really, really excited about that, getting John's thoughts more regularly. If you have not yet subscribed to A Sea of Red on YouTube, please do that. If you get those guys to 1,000 subscribers, that'll really help boost their content a little bit more to kind of help promote a little bit more. So subscribe and then like everything. Every time you see A Sea of Red video on YouTube, once you subscribe, just hit that like button. All that kind of stuff helps grow all the great work that John and Chad and everyone else at A Sea of Red do. So we would really appreciate that. All right. Any final thoughts, Will?
No, man. Just excited that we get, as Liberty fans and Liberty alum and those connected to the program, that we get to shift our focus now on basketball and kind of just put football behind us a little bit. I know there's still a lot of activity with like transfer portal and stuff like that, and football's kind of lingering around, but man, just support this team and support this program and, support John and Chad and A Sea of Red for all the coverage that they give us as fans, and just looking forward to conference season.
Yeah, only one game in the first 14 days. Wednesday night, home against Jacksonville State. If you're in the Lynchburg area, make sure you get out to that. Make sure that place is packed and loud. And Ray Harper could be a little cranky, so let's give him a miserable night. All right.
Yeah. Hey, one last thing too that Scar touched on a little bit, but man, hopefully Liberty Arena is full for these conference games. I mean, that matters, that having that atmosphere.
Yeah. I think we'll see it on Saturday. Liberty might catch a break with their students, maybe not all being back yet. But you'll see it at Louisiana Tech. When you play them, we'll definitely see it. All right. Well, Will, this has been a blast. We'll be back at some point, probably next week. Until then, go Flames.